In the realm of negotiation, two names stand out: William Ury and Roger Fisher. They are the brilliant minds behind the Harvard Negotiation Project and the co-authors of the groundbreaking book, Getting to Yes. Having recently read this book, I felt compelled to share with you the invaluable lessons it offers. Negotiation, as described in their book, isn't about splitting things down the middle or insisting on my way or your way. It's definitely not about winning or losing. In fact, if you're asking who is winning, you've already lost the essence of what negotiation truly is. So, what is negotiation really about? Let me walk you through some examples to help you see it more clearly. Understanding negotiation through examples. Imagine two men arguing in a library. One insists on opening the window to let in fresh air, while the other demands it stay closed to prevent his papers from being blown away. What would you do in this situation? Do you compromise by leaving the window half open? Do you side with one over the other? The librarian, instead of getting caught in the middle of this tug-of-war, finds a clever solution. She opens a window in another room, allowing fresh air to circulate without disturbing the papers. This simple yet effective solution leaves both parties satisfied. Another example involves two people who want to share a cake but can't agree on how to divide it fairly. No matter how it's cut, both will likely complain that the other got the larger piece. So, what's the solution? One person is asked to cut the cake, while the other gets to choose first. The knowledge that the other person picks first motivates the one cutting the cake to ensure it's divided as evenly as possible. It's a small, but powerful way to ensure fairness. One last scenario: two children argue over an orange. A parent, attempting to be fair, cuts the orange in half and gives each child one half. One child eats the fruit and discards the peel, while the other uses the peel for baking but throws away the fruit. Had the parent asked why they wanted the orange, each child could have received 100% of what they wanted. Instead, they both only got 50%. These examples highlight a critical truth: negotiation is about finding a solution that leaves both sides satisfied, without damaging the relationship. But how exactly do you achieve that? How do you craft those wise and practical solutions like the ones we just explored? Let me introduce you to a 4-step framework that will transform you into a master negotiator. Step 1. Focus on interests, not positions. The first step in becoming an effective negotiator is shifting your focus from positions to interests. Remember the story of the two men arguing over the window in the library? This scenario perfectly illustrates a common issue in negotiations: people often focus too much on their positions. A position is the specific demand someone makes, like wanting the window open or closed. Interests, on the other hand, are the underlying reasons or motivations behind those positions. Focusing on interests rather than positions can be challenging. Positions are clear and tangible, while interests can be hidden, vague, or difficult to articulate. So, how do you uncover the interests of the other party? Start by asking why. Why do they want what they want? Try to see the situation from their perspective. Once you understand their underlying interests, discuss them openly. When people feel understood, they are more likely to listen and engage constructively. But it's not just about understanding their interests, you also need to clearly communicate your own. The other side might not be aware of what's important to you, so it's essential to articulate your interests clearly. To turn these interests into actionable options, ask yourself, if they agree with me tomorrow, what do I want them to do? Step 2. Use fair standards. Even when both sides understand each other's interests, conflicts can still arise. You might want lower rent while your landlord insists on raising it. Instead of getting caught in a back-and-forth argument, anchor the discussion in objective, fair standards. This step is about using impartial criteria to guide the negotiation. Remember the cake example? When two people couldn't agree on how to share a cake, having one person cut and the other choose was based on a fair standard. Objective criteria are unbiased principles or rules that both parties can agree on. These might include market prices, legal requirements, expert opinions, or agreed-upon standards. Often, people resist agreeing because they feel like the other side is making unreasonable demands. But when you shift the focus to objective standards, it's no longer about what you want versus what they want. It's about what's fair according to a set of agreed-upon rules. For example, if you're negotiating house construction and the contractor suggests shallow foundations while you believe they should be deeper, don't just compromise. Instead, say, let's check the regulations or expert recommendations for these soil conditions. What's the earthquake risk here? Where can we find standard guidelines to resolve this question? Before starting any negotiation, it's beneficial to discuss and agree on what constitutes fair standards with the other party. For instance, if you want to sell at a high price and the buyer wants a low one, suggest finding a middle ground by figuring out what a fair price would be based on market trends or other standards. By focusing on fair standards, you can transform a potential conflict into a shared goal. Step 3. Invent options for mutual gain. In negotiation, it's essential to move beyond the mindset of splitting the difference and instead seek solutions where both parties can gain. Revisit the example of the children arguing over an orange. Instead of simply cutting the orange in half, a better approach would have been to find out why each child wanted it. One wanted the peel, while the other wanted the fruit. Both could have had 100% of what they desired. The key to inventing options for mutual gain lies in creative problem solving. Start by brainstorming a wide range of possible solutions. In this stage, it's crucial to let ideas flow freely without judgment. Don't immediately discard or critique ideas during the brainstorming session. Save that for later when you can evaluate the options more critically. To foster a productive brainstorming session, gather a few participants who can contribute different perspectives. Change the environment to create a relaxed atmosphere, and clearly define the purpose of the session. After brainstorming, begin by discussing the most promising ideas and explore ways to improve them further. People often assume that differences in negotiation are the root of the problem. However, these differences can actually lead to creative solutions. In the orange example, the wise solution emerged because each side valued a different part of the orange. Instead of seeing differences as obstacles, view them as opportunities to find a solution that benefits both parties. Step 4. Separate people from the problem. In any negotiation, it's vital to remember that you're dealing with people first and the problem second. Before you begin negotiating, visualize a line down the middle of the person you're dealing with. On one side is the individual, and on the other is the problem. Your goal is to be soft on the person but hard on the problem. One common mistake is to either be too soft on the person, which leads to being soft on the problem, or to be too hard on the problem, which can result in being hard on the person as well, damaging the relationship. The key is to find a balance. Be empathetic and appreciative towards the individual, but remain firm and focused on addressing the problem. Throughout the negotiation process, consistently ask yourself whether you're giving enough attention to the people's side of the equation. People have different perspectives, and their egos can easily feel threatened. They see the world from their own viewpoint, often confusing their perceptions with reality. They may misinterpret your words and fail to communicate their true intentions clearly. You must address not only their issues but also your own. Your emotions, like anger and frustration, can become barriers to reaching an agreement. Similarly, your perceptions might be one-sided, and you might not be listening or communicating as effectively as you think. One of the best ways to prevent people problems is to build a relationship with the other party before the negotiation begins. Negotiating with someone you know is always easier than with a stranger. Arrive early to chat, stay a bit afterward, and take the time to get to know their likes and dislikes. These informal interactions can make future negotiations smoother and more successful. In fact, multiple studies have shown that simply getting to know the other side can increase the success rate of negotiations by 25 to 30%. Handling difficult situations in negotiations. At this point, you might be thinking, these 4 steps sound fair and reasonable, but what if the other side isn't playing by the rules? What if they use dirty tactics, hold more power, or attack me personally? Let's explore how to handle each of these challenging situations. Dealing with dirty tactics. In negotiations, it's not uncommon for the other party to resort to dirty tactics, lying, using pressure tactics, or trying to manipulate the situation. Recognizing these tricks is the first step in neutralizing them. One effective strategy is to call out the tactic directly. For example, if you sense that the other side is playing good cop, bad cop, you might say, "It seems like you're using the good cop, bad cop routine." If you need time to discuss things, feel free to take a break. By mentioning the tactic, you strip it of its power and might even make the other party worry about losing your trust. However, be careful not to make it personal. Focus on addressing the tactic, not attacking the person. Instead of saying, "You're being deceitful," you might say, "I feel like we're not addressing the issue directly. Let's focus on finding a solution that works for both of us." This approach helps you steer the conversation back to the issue at hand and minimizes defensiveness. Another key strategy is to use objective criteria to counteract manipulative tactics. If someone is pressuring you with false deadlines or unrealistic demands, calmly ask for data or evidence to support their claims. For instance, if a supplier is threatening to withdraw their offer unless you agree to their terms immediately, ask, "Can you provide documentation or a reason why this offer is time-sensitive?" By requesting concrete information, you undermine the pressure tactic and create an opportunity for a more rational discussion. Handling power imbalances. Negotiations can become particularly challenging when there is a significant power imbalance. The more powerful party might use their position to push through unfavorable terms or dismiss your concerns. To manage this situation effectively, it's important to focus on your own strengths and leverage them to negotiate from a position of strength. Start by preparing thoroughly. Understand the other party's needs, constraints, and goals. Gather as much information as possible about the market or context of the negotiation to use as leverage. Additionally, build relationships and alliances that can support your position. Sometimes, having allies who can vouch for you or support your argument can level the playing field. If faced with a power imbalance, consider employing the BATNA strategy. BATNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. It's crucial to know your alternatives if the negotiation doesn't go as planned. Knowing your BATNA gives you confidence and helps you avoid accepting a deal that's worse than your alternative. Addressing personal attacks. Sometimes, negotiations can devolve into personal attacks or emotional conflicts. This can make it difficult to focus on the substantive issues and reach an agreement. If you find yourself the target of personal attacks, it's important to maintain your composure and redirect the conversation back to the problem at hand. A helpful tactic is to acknowledge the emotion without getting drawn into the conflict. For example, if someone attacks your character or credibility, you might say, "I understand that this issue is frustrating, and I'm here to find a solution. Let's refocus on the problem we're trying to solve." By validating their feelings but not engaging in the attack, you help diffuse the situation and bring the conversation back to a more productive place. Additionally, take a step back if you need to. Sometimes, a brief break can allow emotions to settle and give both parties a chance to regain perspective. Use this time to reflect on your objectives and strategy, and return to the negotiation with a renewed focus. Final thoughts. Mastering the art of negotiation requires practice and patience. The principles outlined in Getting to Yes offer a solid foundation for negotiating successfully, whether you're dealing with personal matters, professional deals, or complex conflicts. By focusing on interests rather than positions, using fair standards, inventing options for mutual gain, and separating people from the problem, you can navigate negotiations more effectively and achieve better outcomes. As you approach your next negotiation, remember that your goal is not just to win but to find a resolution that works for all parties involved. Embrace the principles of principled negotiation, and use them as tools to build stronger relationships and achieve satisfactory results. With these strategies, you'll be better equipped to handle any negotiation challenge that comes your way. If you found these insights helpful and want to dive deeper into the world of negotiation, make sure to check out Getting to Yes by William Ury and Roger Fisher. It's a treasure trove of wisdom for anyone looking to improve their negotiation skills. Also, subscribe to our channel, PageWise, for more tips and strategies on personal development and effective communication. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What's your biggest negotiation challenge? Let's continue the conversation on PageWise.